Hello children, this is our fifth unit of Beehive, the snake and the mirror. Here, this story, the snake and the mirror, is a narrative within the narrative. Narrative within the narrative means what? It is a narrative story, but here one of the characters is narrating the story. Now here, one more story we have seen in this type, that was narrative within the narrative. And what was that? The story of Iswaran, if you remember. The story Iswaran the storyteller, you may remember that. Okay, so this is also of the same kind. Here the writer tells us the story which was told to him by a homeopathic doctor, and as we see from the title, what is the title? The snake and the mirror. From this title we understand that the snake and the mirror are two most important things in the story. This homeopathic doctor encountered a snake. Here homeopathic doctor, he met to a snake, and the snake fell on the doctor. When the snake saw its reflection in the mirror, it was more interested in that, and the doctor's life was saved. Here in this type, how the doctor was saved? By these certain humorous incidents. Though it was a very tragic incident for the doctor, but the situation created humor. Okay, comic incident was created after all. Now we'll see line wise. Has a snake ever coiled itself around any part of your body? A full-blooded cobra. All of us fell silent. The question came from the homeopath. Here, a homeopath. Here, homeopath means homeopathic doctor. What was his question? Has a snake ever coiled itself around any part of your body? He is asking that. Has a snake coiled around your body or any part of your body? A full-blooded cobra. Again, then after listening this question, all of us fell silent. Means here others, those who were listening, they felt silent. The topic came up when we were discussing snakes. We listened attentively as the doctor continued with his tale. And here, this topic, he started asking question about the snake and the coiling of the snake around anybody's part. But here, this topic started when they were discussing about snake. And the homeopath doctor, he started telling his tale, his story. It was a hot summer night, about 10 o'clock. I had my meal at the restaurant and returned to my room. I heard a noise from above as I opened the door. The sound was a familiar one. One could say that the rats and I shared the room. I took out my box of the matches and lighted the kerosene lamp on the table. See here, the doctor started telling his story. He says it was hot summer night and about 10 o'clock. I had my meal. When he had his meal at the restaurant and returned to his room, he heard, when he opened the door, he heard in the beginning. He says that I heard a noise. I heard the noise from the above side, and as I opened the door. When he opened the door, he heard some noise from the above side or from the roof. The sound was a familiar one. He says that the sound was familiar. He understood that noise, it was familiar to him. One could say that the rats and I shared the room. He says again that the rats and I shared the room. Means here we can imagine that there are too many rats in his room. I took out my box of matches and lighted the kerosene lamp on the table. He took out the matchbox and lighted the kerosene lamp on the table. He says that his house was not electrified. There was a table. There was a kerosene lamp in his house. In his room, the house was not electrified. Here, there wasn't electricity in his house. It was not electrified means here his house did not have electricity. It was a small rented room. I had just set up medical practice and my earnings were meager. He says it was his beginning. He has started his medical practice. Means here medical practice, doctor's profession. When he starts the practicing, he just treats patients. So it was his beginning, and that's why his earning were meager. Meager means here very small in quantity. So okay, I had about 60 rupees in my suitcase. along with some shirts and dhotis. I also possessed one solitary black coat which I was then wearing. See here, he says that he was very, means not, we cannot say that he was poor, but he was very normal person. He did not have much amount or much property with him. He says that he had only some shirts and dhotis, and he had a single solitary black coat. He had a single black coat which he used to wear. I took off my black coat, white shirt, and not so white vest and hung them up. And when he was in his room, he was alone. Okay, and so he just casually he took off his black coat which he was wearing at that time. He just took out his white shirt also, and not so white vest. Here, not so white vest. Vest means here the upper garment which we use, the undergarment which we use, upper part of our body. Like simply we can say that banyan. Okay, so he just took out his all these things and hung them up on a. He just put in the house, in the room. I opened the two windows in the room. He opened the two windows in the room. It was an outer room with a wall facing the open yard. It was the outer room, and its windows were facing to the open yard. It had a tiled roof with long supporting gables that rested on the beam over the wall. It was a very nice room, but there was a beam also on the roof, and it was just rested. The roof was just supporting, the beam was supporting to the roof, and which was over the wall. There was no ceiling. There was a regular traffic of rats to and fro from the beam. See here, there was means through that passage or through that way, the rats were coming and going all the time. I made my bed and pulled it close to the wall. So he made his bed very close to the wall, and I lay down, but I could not sleep. That day he just laid down on the bed, but he could not sleep. Again, I got up and went out to the veranda for a little air, but the wind god seemed to have taken time off. So because of summer night, he was feeling hot. So he just came out to the veranda to have some cool air. But at that time also he did not find cool air, and that's why he says that the wind god seemed to have taken time off. Means here the wind god has gone for a like he has taken a recess. I went back into the room and sat down on the chair. I opened the box beneath the table and took out a book, the Materia Medica. I opened it at the table on which stood the lamp and large mirror. A small comb lay beside the mirror. So here again, when he found that there isn't air outside, so he again came into the room and he sat on the chair, and he opened his box beneath the table, he opened the box which was under the table and took out a book from it. And what is the name of the book? The Materia Medica, means it is related to the medical science. So he opened it, and at the table on which the lamp was kept, and which was near the large mirror, and there was a small comb also which laid beside the mirror, which was very close to the mirror. There was a comb. One feels tempted to look into the mirror when it's near one. I took a look. In those days I was a great admirer of beauty, and I believed in making myself look handsome. I was unmarried, and I was a doctor. I felt I had to make my presence felt. I picked up the comb and ran it through my hair and adjusted the parting so that it looked straight and neat. Again I heard that sound from above. See here. Here he says that one feels tempted to look into the mirror. Here one can feel temptation. One can feel, means he can himself do what can do. When one is before the mirror, he himself becomes curious, or he himself becomes ready to comb his hair if he is in front of the mirror. So here similar thing happened with this doctor. So he says, I took a look. So he just looked into the mirror. So in those days, again he says that in those days I was a great admirer of beauty. So why he was a great admirer of beauty? Means one who praises beauty. Why? He was a young one. He was a young doctor. He was bachelor doctor. He was unmarried doctor, and that's why he used to praise beauty. Whenever he finds some beautiful things or beautiful girls or beautiful women, he used to praise them. Okay. and he says that I was a doctor, and he always keeps trying to be handsome. Why? He again and again says that he was a doctor and he was young, he was a unmarried doctor, and that's why he used to keep he wanted to he wanted to present himself as a nice one or handsome one. So he, at the same time, he just picked up the comb and he just combed his hair. At that time he adjusted his hairs. At the same time, again he says that he heard the same sound, the sound, something which was familiar sound, but he did not worried about the sound. He just heard that sound when he entered the room, and again this time also he heard the sound. I look a close look on my face at my face in the mirror. I made an important decision. I would shave daily and grow a thin mustache to look more handsome. I was, after all, a bachelor and a doctor. Again he says himself, I took a close look at my face in the mirror. He looked himself into the mirror and he made an important decision. What was that decision? He says that I would shave daily. Every day I will shave my beard. I will not keep beard. I will just be clean shaved, and I will just keep a thin mustache. पतली सी मूंछ रखूंगा. I'll keep thin mustache to look more handsome. If I keep a thin mustache, I look more handsome. He's just thinking. He's making decision. After all, why he wants to keep all these things? Why he wants to keep? He wants to be a clean shaved doctor, or he wants to keep a thin mustache? Because after all, he says that he was a bachelor. Bachelor means unmarried, and he, of course, he was a doctor. I looked into the mirror and smiled. It was an attractive smile. See here, I looked. Again he says, I looked into the mirror and smiled. He himself was looking into the mirror and he was smiling. It was an attractive smile. Again he says, his smile was attractive. I made another earth-shaking decision. Again, earth-shaking decision means here important decision, very firm decision. What was the decision? I would always keep that attractive smile on my face. Again, this smile, this killer smile, he wants to keep on his face all the time to look more handsome. Why he wants to keep this smile on his face? Because that smile looks, with that smile he looks more handsome. I was, after all, a bachelor and a doctor too, on top of it. See, again he's thinking again, oh, why should not I smile again and again? Why? I am a doctor, I am a bachelor, I am a young one. So, and again he heard the same noise again, same sound again. I got up, paced up and down the room. Then another lovely thought struck me. And when he got up, he stopped combing his hair. Another thought came into his mind. What was that thought? Very funny, very humorous again. I would get married to a woman doctor who had plenty of money and had a good medical practice. Again, he thinks that he would get married with a woman doctor, and not a simple doctor, but a doctor who had plenty of money, who is rich. Okay, and she has a good medical practice. She had to be fat. Again, his desire. See, he wants to get married with a woman, but she should be rich, but not only rich, but she should be a little fat also. And he has a valid reason. He has a reason for that, why she should be fat. Why he wants a fat woman, fat wife? He says again, if I made some silly mistake and needed to run away, she should not be able to run after me and catch me. See, so humorous thing. He says, oh, I need a wife. She must be rich. She must be a doctor. And of course, she must be fat. Why? Because if I made a silly mistake, and if she wants to catch me, so I can run fast. And because she is fat, she cannot run fast and catch me. That's why I need a woman. I need a wife who is fat. With such thoughts in my mind, I resumed my seat in the chair in front of the table. See here, why all these thoughts? After these thoughts, I resumed my seat. I started means here he came back on the chair near the table, in front of the table. There were no more sounds from above. See, the sounds which were coming from above side, and that time there were no sounds. But suddenly there came a dull thud, as if a rubber tube had fallen to the ground. Again, the same. Suddenly he heard that there was a sound, something which like a rubber tube like thing fallen on the ground. Surely nothing to worry about. Even so, I thought I would turn around and take a look. No sooner had I turned than a fat snake wriggled over the back of the chair and landed on my shoulder. The snake's landing on me and my turning were simultaneous. Oh, here the snake fell on the ground, but when he was just turning around to see what was that, the same time he found that a snake just landed on his shoulder. The snake just landed on his shoulder. The snake's landing on the doctor and he's turning. There was simultaneously, means together, one after one. It didn't jump. I didn't tremble. I didn't cry out. There was no time to do any such thing. See here, the doctor said, I did not jump because when I saw the snake, I did not jump. Why? The death was before me. I did not tremble. I did not cry. I did not shout. There wasn't time to do such a thing. He says that I did not have time to scream, to shout, or to jump because the snake was on my body. The snake slithered along my shoulder and coiled around my left arm elbow. The hood was spread out and its head was hardly 3 or 4 inches from my face. Here, the snake, it coiled on the shoulder around my left arm. He says around the left arm of the doctor, he coiled and his hood was spread out. It was a what do we say, cobra. So his hood was spread out and that's why he could not move, and he just spread out its hood and the hood was hardly 3 or 4 inches from the face of the doctor. It would not be correct to say merely that I sat there holding breath. I was turned to stone, but my mind was very active. The door opened into the darkness. The room was surrounded by darkness. In the light of the lamp, I sat there like a stone image in the flesh. Here the doctor was like sitting, he was sitting there holding his breath. The doctor was holding his breath. He paused his breath for a while. He was turned to the stone like he was without movement. He was sitting there in the chair, but his mind was active. He says that my mind was active. So his door was open. His house was covered with darkness, means there wasn't electricity. Okay, electric lamp. So it was just a kerosene lamp. And he says that he was just sitting there as an image of a flesh, means he was without movement, without any movement, he was sitting there. I felt then the great presence of the creator of this world and his universe. God was there. Suppose I said something and he did not like it. See here, he felt that he was just feeling, he was just remembering about the God, the creator of this world. Creator of this world means God. He just himself in his mind, he was thinking that God was there. Suppose I said something and he did not like it. See, if he wanted just praise the God. But again, on the other hand, he felt that if I say something and he did not like it, he means here the snake which was very close to him. Okay. I tried in my imagination to write in bright letters outside my little heart the words, "Oh God." He could not say, he could not utter the words. So he imagined himself as if he was saying the words, he was writing the words on the little heart, outside of the little heart of himself. What was those words? "Oh God." There was some pain in my left arm. It was as if a thick leaden rod, no, a rod made of molten fire, was slowly but powerfully crushing my arm. The arm was beginning to be detained of all strength. What could I do? Here, all these things. So here, he was just feeling his arm, the snake was around his arm, and he was feeling that his arm was just tightened with something. It was just tied with some tight things. He was feeling like this. Now the next paragraph. At my slightest movement, the snake would strike me. Yes, death lurked 4 inches away. He says, yes, at my slightest movement, if I move a little, slightest means a little movement may be dangerous for me. So he says that if I move a little one, it would strike me. The snake would strike me. The snake would bite me, and that's why he says that the death lurked 4 inches away. The death was before me, only 4 inches away. Suppose it struck, and what was the medicine I had to take? There were no medicines in the room. I was but a poor, foolish, and a stupid doctor. I forgot my danger and smiled feebly at myself. See, he was thinking, if the snake bites me, what kind of medicines I have to take? I was thinking, I was a poor there because I did not know what to do. I was foolish and poor doctor, stupid doctor. In that danger situation, he was smiling himself in his mind. Again, now here. It seemed as if God appreciated that. Again, he is here. It seemed that God appreciated that the snake turned its head. It looked into the mirror and saw its reflection. See here. Here the doctor felt that God appreciated the doctor's realization. What was his realization of his mistake? Something favorable happened to him. To the doctor's life was saved. Means something which was happened. And what was that incident? The same means as if his inner voice was heard by the God, and that's why the snake himself just turned back and he looked into the mirror, and he just was observing his own mirror, his own reflection. He just says that it looked into the mirror and saw its reflection. I do not claim that it was the first snake that had ever looked into the mirror, but it was certain that the snake was looking into the mirror. Was it admiring its own beauty? Was it trying to make an important decision about growing a mustache or using eye shadow or mascara or wearing a vermilion spot on his forehead? See, when he saw that the snake was looking at the mirror, the thoughts came into the doctor's mind. He also thought that the snake is also thinking like himself. What he thought when he was looking into the mirror, was it thinking, or was he making some decisions of his life that he will also keep some mustache and he will also have some eyeshadows or mascara, or he will wearing vermilion spot on his forehead? Was the snake also thinking like the doctor? The thought came into his mind. I did not know anything for certain. What sex was the snake? Was it male or female? I will never know. For the snake unwound itself from my arm and slowly slithered into my lap. From there it crept onto the table and moved towards the mirror. Perhaps it wanted to enjoy its reflection at the close quarters. I was no mere image cut in granite. I was suddenly a man of flesh and blood, still holding my breath, and I got up from the chair. I quietly went out through the door into the veranda. From there I leapt into the yard and ran for all I was worth. So here, the doctor says here, I was thinking, means here the snake was male or female. He was just trying to think that whether the snake was male or female. He did not know. He will never know. When after the next moment, the snake uncoiled himself from the arm and it slowly turned towards the on his lap, on the doctor's lap, and from there he also crept onto the table. He just went to the table near the mirror, and the snake moved towards the mirror. Perhaps here that snake also wanted to enjoy its reflection at the close quarters. And again here says that still the doctor was very quiet. Though the snake was near the table, he was just waiting. He was just thinking to run away. And when he got chance, he was just holding his breath. And when he got chance to run away from there, he just ran very speedily or fastly to the yard or to the outside of the room into the veranda. And he just relaxed when he came out of the room. He says, each of us heaved a sigh of relief. Somebody asked, Doctor, is your wife very fat? See here, when he came out, he stopped his story. The other members to whom the doctor was narrating the story, everybody was relaxed. But somebody asked, Doctor, is your wife very fat? Then the doctor replied, No. The doctor said, God willed it otherwise. My life companion is a thin, ready person with a gift of a sprinter. See here, no, my wife isn't fat. The God decided something different, and she is thin. Someone else again asked, Doctor, when you ran, did the snake follow you? Somebody again asked that, Doctor, when you ran from your room, did the snake follow you? The doctor replied, I ran and ran till I reached a friend's house. Immediately I smeared oil all over myself and took a bath. He says, No, I don't know whether he followed me or not, but I ran and ran till I reached my friend's house, and I reached there immediately. I smeared oil. I put oil on my body, and I took bath, and I changed into fresh clothes there. The next morning at about 8:30, I took my friend and one or two others to my room to move my things from there. And on the next day, he took his friend also next morning to his room, to take his room and to make the room vacant. He did not want to stay there in that room, so he took some 2 or 3 other people also with him to take his things, to take his belongings. But we found we had little to carry. Means here, some thief when he reached there, he found that there were very few things to take with them. Why? Some thief had removed most of my things. The room had been cleaned out, but not really. The thief had left behind one thing as a final insult. And what was that? I asked here, the author asked, what was that? The doctor said, my vest, the dirty one. The fellow had such a sense of cleanliness, the rascal could have taken it and used it after washing it with soap and water. See here, the doctor here, he went there and he went there with some 2-3 people. Why? He wanted to take some things of himself so that he can vacant that room. But when he reached there with the people, he found that there were very few things left inside the room. Why? Some thieves came there and they took all the things. Very few things were lying there in the room. And one thing, he says that one thing was the thief kept the thing, and that was as a insult. And what was that thing? That thing was his dirty vest, his dirty banyan vest, which the thief kept there. Here angrily, the doctor says, oh, those rascals could have taken that vest also, and they would have washed it and used it. Did you see the snake the next day? Did you see the snake the next day, doctor? Oh, again somebody asked. The doctor laughed. I have never seen it since. It was a snake which was taken with its own beauty. So no, I did not see the snake next day, but I have never seen it since. I never seen the snake which stood before the mirror and was just praising or maybe thinking about his own beauty, or maybe thinking like we think about ourselves. So here we come to know that here this story is a narrative. In the narrative, the doctor narrates his own experiences with the snake, which he had. So here our story comes to end. You can write down its question answers from our website, and there will be a quiz also after those solutions. Okay, bye.